What is up, Ludi Bros Army? It is time for some more NBA action. I'm going to go ahead and sit down and take a look at another team that I've always got my eye on in the Western Conference. And we're going to take a look at them, how they've done so far up to this point in the regular season, and how things are looking for them heading into the playoffs. But before we get deep into this video, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button down below. Hit that like button if this is some content that you enjoy. And hit me up in the comments below. I've been getting a lot of comments on my basketball videos. I'm glad about that. I like to talk basketball, so hit me up in the comments below. Let me know what you think about the team that we're going to be discussing in this video, the Los Angeles Clippers. So let's go ahead and take a look at the team. I'm fresh off watching them and their game against the Pelicans last night, in which they were routed thoroughly by the Pelicans. But I don't think that's necessarily a good indication of the depth and the strength of this team. Although I do think that there's a microcosm that we can look at with some of the events that played themselves out during the course of the game. When we look at the standings, the Clippers are 25-15, counting last night's loss. They're 4-6 in their last 10. So if you look at numbers like that, you're going to be thinking, why are they struggling? But let's remember, they've been hit, with the injury bug. And that goes to show that this team doesn't have the same amount of depth as they had last year. Last year, they were one of the deepest teams in the NBA. But when you take a close look at the numbers this year, they don't have that same depth. They don't have Harrell anymore. Landry Shamet is not there anymore. And both those guys have gone on to teams where they're, having a little bit more success in their new systems. But let's go ahead and let's check out the Los Angeles Clippers and how their per game stats are looking. I always like to take a good look at these to kind of get an idea, on top of the actual eye test of watching games. I like to look at the per game to just get a good look at what the guys are doing. We've got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. There's no surprise at all here. The 1-2 punch of these two perimeter players. A lot of experts are calling them the best two-way players in the NBA, especially, the fact that they're on the same team. And their numbers do reflect, look at this. I mean, Kawhi is getting 27 points per game, along with 6 rebounds and 5 assists and 2 steals. I mean, those are great numbers. And then you look at Paul George. Paul George is getting you 23 points per game, along with 6 rebounds and 5 assists. So then also getting a steal a game. So they're doing it all on both ends of the court, and they're both shooting very high percentages. You have Kawhi Leonard, his field goal percentage, 51%, basically going to be 52%. And then you have Paul George, who's also shooting 49% from the field. And then they're both shooting over 40% from 3. I mean, these two guys are being very efficient on the floor. That's not a question about the skill set of both Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. It's never been a question for me. One of the big signings, since I haven't done a video on the Clippers, this whole season, one of the big signings that they had was Nicholas Batum. I think that was a great pickup for them. Of course, his numbers aren't going to show everything that he brings to the table. He brings a very calm and stabilizing force. He's a long, lengthy player who can get out on the wing and defend. He's getting about 9 points per game. He's getting almost 5 rebounds a game and a couple of assists. But he's everywhere. And another thing that he can really help you out, like I said, he's long and lengthy on the defensive end. He's also averaging over a steal per game. Adding Nicholas Batum, I think, was a very good step in the right direction for the Clippers. But outside of the big two that they have, and then getting points chipped in by Marcus Morris, Serge Ibaka, and then Lou Williams off the bench, this really is not the same team as last year, where they just had so much depth and they would come at you in waves. This is really just the big 1-2 punch and then minor contributions. And I'm saying minor not to downplay, but just lesser contributions in comparison with some of the other teams in the NBA. Serge Ibaka was the other big addition. Like I said, he's getting almost 11 points per game and it's about 7 rebounds. So I mean, he's coming in and he's going to do what he's able to do. He's an athletic guy. He has lots of experience now. Going from the Thunder, he played with the Raptors and won a championship. And now he's here, teaming back up with Kawhi Leonard to try and get another ring. So that was another good addition. I mean, they made good moves in the offseason, but we're seeing here that, I'm not sure how that's going to pan out for them come playoff time by losing that depth off their bench. Patrick Beverley, to me, he tries to be so scrappy and he, all defense, I don't like the way that he plays. I think that I don't know. I just have a very negative viewpoint of Patrick Beverley, and we'll see if they're able to have that success that they're looking for with him being the starting point guard. I don't think you can, but we'll see if Patrick Beverley can be the starting point guard on a championship level team. A lot of experts last year anointed this team that they were going to win. And even if you go back through the videos here on Looney Bros Entertainment, I mean, I was saying no, this team is not going to win. And one of those reasons was because they lacked. I mean, last year they looked really deep, but this year they're not the same. They don't have the same depth. They've had that injury bug plaguing them. I do like the fact that Kawhi Leonard has been playing a lot more games this season as opposed to last. I think he learned a valuable lesson that you cannot just be taking time off whenever you want to. And, I think he did learn a valuable lesson, and that's going to help them. That's going to help them going forward into the playoffs. Of course, the team is going to make it to the playoffs. There's no way they're going to miss out on being in the playoffs here in the Western Conference. If we look at how things are shaping up, you've got the Jazz, the Suns, and then the Lakers, and then there's the Clippers. And they even hold a 2-game lead over the Denver Nuggets, who, if you remember, the Denver Nuggets were the team that knocked them out last year with a very nice comeback down 3-1. They were able to win 3 games in a row and knock the Clippers out. And I think that takes me to the mindset of the team. Now, if you have a 3-1 series lead and you are arguably the best player in the NBA, there's no way that you should lose that. And until the Clippers can show me differently that they are able to put their foot down on the team's throat and finish them off, until they show me differently, I'm not going to have them coming out of really the second round of the playoffs. And if this was the first round matchup, I don't even know if they'd be able to make it out of the first round. If it held true and the Clippers and Nuggets, stayed and they matched up in the first round, I don't even know if the Clippers would be able to get out of the first round at that point. The narrative will need to change on the Clippers if that happens. The narrative will need to change on Kawhi Leonard if that happens. The narrative will need to change on Paul George as well. Paul George, I've liked him since he was an Indiana Pacer. I liked him in OKC. But the thing is when it comes to playoff time, and I hate to say this, but since that horrific injury he had, and once again, I never wish an injury on a player, since he broke his leg, I think that something's up, with him mentally. And I hope that's not the case. I hope I'm 100% wrong. In the regular season, he's able to do, great things. He looks like a great player in the regular season, and when he's in clutch times and needs a clutch performance, I've seen him hit big buckets. However, I've also seen him go scoreless in the fourth quarter, even in the regular season. That's not the formula for success when you get into the playoffs. You can't not have, and you're built this way. You're built with a team that has 2 guys who are at the top eating up everything, and there's not too much outside of that. You only have 3 other guys getting double figures. I don't think that's going to be the real formula, for you to win. Especially in a packed Western Conference where you could have a first round matchup with the team that beat you, from being down 3-1, came back and beat you. So I hope that the locker room issues were figured out. I know that there was some last year. You have some guys who are looking at the top guys saying, why are they not practicing? And I think that stuff has been handled because we were seeing Kawhi Leonard showing up to more and more games. And that's just good for basketball. When you have a guy that's that talented, he needs to play. He needs to show up. He needs to play. He needs to put in the work. You don't want to see him doing too much load managing. Now, this season can be a little bit different. I mean, we're having all these stuff with COVID and the health and safety protocols in the NBA. So I'm going to be very understanding with that. But I like to see Kawhi Leonard there. I want to see him show up. I want to see him show up for these regular season games that do matter. A lot of people are saying, well, they just need to get him healthy for the playoffs, this and that, which is true to an extent, because we saw last year that without chemistry, you're not going to win. The Clippers ended up losing that series 3-1. You're not going to win in that situation without knowing, who the guys that you're going to war with are. Have they handled that? Looks like it. They're 25-15. Last night's game against the Pelicans is more of an indication of the Pelicans getting their stuff together than it is of the Clippers, falling apart. So I do expect for the Clippers to make another push maybe to jostle the standings here in the Western Conference. I don't think that they want to match up with the Nuggets. I honestly do think that they would like to avoid that matchup because the Nuggets will come into that with a full head of steam and some excitement to prove that last year wasn't a fluke. Even the Mavericks, I'm sure that the Mavericks are a team that would look forward to another crack at the Clippers based off of the performance last year in the playoffs. So I think that the Clippers have a target on their back, and they're going to have to do a lot this year in come playoff time. They're going to have to do a lot to prove that they're not a fluke and that they're ready to go and, you know, hopefully contend for a title. So what do you think about the Los Angeles Clippers? Those are my thoughts. What do you think on the Los Angeles Clippers? Are they the team to beat in LA? Are they the team to beat in the Western Conference? And are they the team to beat when it comes to holding that Larry O'Brien trophy at the end of it all? All right, well, hit me up in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts, and I will see you guys in the next video.